Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this morning. Today, the video's on college football heroes. And the guy that I'm going to highlight today was one of my favorite players of all time. His name is Tony Dorsett, running back out of the University of Pittsburgh. So if you like the video today, please come in and share this. I talk about this great football player, great man, and one of the stars in the 70s that made me a football fan at its highest level. Tony Dorsett, running back, the University of Pittsburgh. So if you like the video, please come in and share it. And we'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. Man, when you get to talk about great running backs in this game of college football, and they're able to take it to the next level in the National Football League, it's not many that's in our calling to an elite group. And growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, the 901, I followed college football very heavy. As you know anything about me on the previous videos that I've had here on 100 Yards of Football. And the one great thing that was great back then is that the running back position was the position. It was the position of the heroes. It was the position of the attractive man. It was the position of everything that surrounded college football. Going back to Billy Canton, when he was with LSU, 1959. Then the great man himself, Jim Brown at Syracuse in 1956. Ernie Davis, 1959 at Syracuse. Floyd Little, 1966 Syracuse. O.J. Simpson, USC, 1967. The group started getting bigger and bigger. Greg Pruitt at Oklahoma in 1971. Then, of course, looking down the road, we being in the South, we got to talk about Herschel Walker. You got to talk about Marcus Allen out there on the West Coast at USC, Herschel with Georgia, George Rogers with South Carolina, Rashad Salam with Colorado, Barry Sanders at Oklahoma State. Man, there's been some great running backs. Adrian Peterson at Oklahoma, Reggie Bush, USC. But man, this gentleman right here, Tony Dorsett, when I talk about college running backs, I'm not going to get into the NFL. He might have been 1A, 1B, or 1C, my favorite football player of all time. You're talking about a young man out of Western Pennsylvania, right outside Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers royalty in the 70s, winning Super Bowls. But when you looked at the University of Pittsburgh and you looked at their program, the only big name that came out of that program that I was familiar with was Mike Ditka. And the only other reason I know about Pittsburgh, because they hired a coach who was a big-time legend at the University of Tennessee, Johnny Majors. So I was in the 8th grade, Sherwood High School, getting ready to start school. I was one of the first bus children coming out of the Longview Heights area, going to a school that was almost like about 10 to 15 miles from my house, 763 Dunn Avenue, where I was raised by my parents, Chester and Inez Turner. So the first knowledge that I heard of Tony Dorsett was I was a big-time college football fan, and I used to get these college football magazines, and I think I got a Street and Smith, and I opened the page, and they had this article about this freshman running back who wants to really rebuilt Pittsburgh's program. But the thing that came to age with Tony Dorsett was that day they played the University of Georgia, September 11, 1973. And the young man had over 100 yards rushing, a true freshman. And I said, wow, let me step back and start following this young guy that's playing running back at Pitt. Not a big guy, as you see, about 5'9", 5'10", but the skill set. After watching them highlights against the University of Georgia, which the game ended up in a 7-7 tie, but it was the skill set that I came really galvanized and I really stayed focused with. The vision this young man had at 18 years old was A+. But it was the burst and acceleration that really gravitated me to Tony Dorsett. Man, when he hit that hole or he caught that pitch on that option, he knew how to get up the field And I give that an A+. And then the initial quickness. It was something I never did see in a running back position. I got to give it an A+. And you know what? His freshman year, he came on the scene. He became the first freshman running back to be named All-American that year. It took 29 years. Only other person that was named the All-American was Doc Blanchard at Army in 1944. But not only Tony Dorsett was a first-team All-American as a true freshman, the guy had 1,586 yards. And boy, the myth, the legend of Tony Dorsett was born at the University of Pittsburgh. And then 3 games in his sophomore year, he became Pitt's all-time leading rusher. Man, the career was going, and I was following some Eastern football. But the thing that set me from the difference in Tony Dorsett and put him into all the great running backs that played in this college football history was his junior year against Notre Dame, a Notre Dame defense. They had Ross Browner that played with the Cincinnati Bengals. They had Bob Golick that played in Notre Dame. They had Willie Fry that went on to the National Football League, which my hometown in 901, one of the greatest football players that ever came through the city of Memphis, and Luther Bradley, who went on to play with Detroit Lions. And that day as a junior, he put 303 yards on Notre Dame. Then he came back the following year, his senior year opening game, and put 295 on the same players. Then he went on that year and won the Heisman Trophy and ended up winning the national championship and had almost 240 yards in the bowl game against the University of Georgia. Then voted into the College Football Hall of Fame the same year, 1994, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame, 1994. But what I liked about Tony Dorsett, in his career, he was a 3-time All-American. His freshman, sophomore year, he was the second-team All-American his junior year, which I think it's a shame. That should not happen. Then he became All-American his senior year. Technically, he was a 4-time All-American. But the thing that I take away from him is 2 stats right here. When ESPN did their college football all-time greatest players, he came 7th on the list. And then he left the University of Pittsburgh with 6,802 yards, rushing yards. And that record stood for 22 years. Well, it stood till 1998 until Ricky Williams broke it at the University of Texas. We don't give credit to Tony Dorsett, I think, on a national level, how special he was in college. And man, when I say this, he was just a guy that everybody gravitate. His skill set, his ability. And right now, I don't have how many attempts he carried the football, but he carried a lot of loaf back in the day. And again, as I mentioned, 6,802 yards, rushing yards, and have that record that stood till Ricky Williams broke it at the University of Texas years later. And then he was a 4-time 1,000-yard rusher in college. Man, he was special. And when you look at all the college running backs, I know it's going to be arguments with O.J. Simpson, Herschel Walker, Earl Campbell, even Ricky Williams. We're talking about on the college level. But I have to say this. If I had to start a backfield, and it's hard for me because I loved O.J. Simpson. Don't get me wrong. The 2 players that be starting in my backfield would be the young man from Wrightsville, Georgia, Herschel Walker, and the young man out of Western Pennsylvania, Tony Dorsett. Think about this right here. Both of them stepped on the scene as true freshmen and changed how college football looked. And then Tony Dorsett, look how his career ended, man. He went on first-round draft pick of the Dallas Cowboys. America's team ended up winning the Super Bowl. He's only won his first year as a Rookie of the Year, NFL Offensive Player of the Year. Played 11 years with, I'm going to say it again, America's team. Had a great career with 12,000-yard career rushing. And not only that, he was one of the best looking guys in the National Football League and on the college level. Tony Dorsett is one of my all-time favorite players. And here on 100 Yards of Football, we should give him kudos. Because when it's all said and done and mentioned among the greatest college football players at the running back position, Tony Dorsett name should be right there at the top of the list. Outstanding football player, man, at 5'9", 5'10". I'm guessing at his height. And most in college, 185 pounds. But I'm going to go back to the skill set again. The vision, A+. The burst and acceleration, A+. And the initial quickness, A+. And it's my man, Tony Daniel, who's following me today here on 100 Yards Football. Thank you, sir, for tuning in. Very, very underrated. So when I think about Tony Dorsett at the University of Pittsburgh, my final words, watching him as an 8th grader, going on to my 9th grade year, 10th grade year, and then my junior year in high school. And when he left Pitt, the only thing I can think about Tony Dorsett is like the great band out of the state of Ohio, the Ohio players. He was on fire, doom, 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 fire. Tony Dorsett walked and talked it all day long. Western Pennsylvania in the house. Dallas Cowboys royalty. Hall of Famer. College football Hall of Famer. Tony Dorsett, you're one of my favorite football players of all time. And I used to have a poster of you on my wall in the house I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, 763 Don Avenue. So if y'all like the video today, please come in and share it. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure to talk about Tony Dorsett, running back, University of Pittsburgh, first-round draft choice of the Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl champion, national champion. Man. It's a great day to be a football fan. It's a great day to talk about this young man out of Pittsburgh. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. I've been your host, Vincent Turner. And I'd like to give kudos to my producer, Mr. Logan Landers, who's made it happen this morning. Y'all have a blessed week here on One.